Well, a certain Chicago tycoon by the name of Sam Zell gave an interview to Bloomberg yesterday, and he said that the best way to solve this housing crisis, or the fastest way to get back on track, is to speed up the number of foreclosures. Do you agree?
Well, do I agree? I couldn't say I agree or disagree, but there are a lot of people who feel that way and voice that from the very beginning. As far as these modification programs go, Fitch Ratings, the bond rating company, came out with a report this week, and this is the second one of these reports that I've seen, that a huge number of modified mortgages go ahead and fail again. I think Fitch said 65% of them, because they were given to people who really never could handle it. Could never handle it in the first place.
David, what do you think of that comment from Sam Zell?
I think Mr. Zell's wrong about that. I also would respectfully disagree with some of the conclusions of Fitch, primarily because up until now, what we have seen on the ground is the loan modification programs, if you want to refer to them that, were completely ineffectual. To ask a homeowner who's behind in their mortgage payments to agree to a modification program that expects them to pay more than they were initially going to pay to catch up on a mortgage is a program that is going to result in a 60+% failure rate. There needs to be some rational thought put into this. At some point, we have to, as a country, decide what are we going to do about the social costs that are associated with the economic problems we have. Accelerating foreclosures from the clearly, Mr. Zell's opinion is not in line with what we're seeing with the banking industry, because from what we can tell, in the pipeline are a substantial number of homes right now which are not getting to the marketplace, and that's because in the bank's matrix of trying to work out their financials and determine what a sale price is going to be, the one thing they did not anticipate was the steep decline in price that has taken place as a result of a flood of foreclosures hitting individual markets.
Mary Umberger, what would your definition of a recovery be?
Well, it's been so long since we've had a normal market. It's kind of hard to even define that. I think we need to at least approach probably sales levels in the 2002 range. Is that probably?
I would say that
2002,
was that the last normal
market that we had?
5.5,
which would be what?
About 5.5 million units on a national basis. Yeah.
And what about here in the Chicago area?
You know, I don't know what the exact statistical number is.
5.5 million in 2002. What were they in the last year?
In the last year, 4.5 million on a nationwide basis, just about 4.5, and at the high point, 7.2 million. And you know, again, you have to. One of the problems that we see is trying to look at this. This is a local problem, as much as it is a national one, and trying to take national numbers and overlay them on a local situation is part of what we see as driving issues around loan modification or driving issues around financing, because you need to take into account the nuances of a local marketplace when you look at what's happening.
The fact that interest rates are creeping back up, is this going to hinder any kind of recovery, Mary?
Well, maybe for some people. Dave's of the opinion they're coming back down again, and I think he made a good point when we were chatting earlier that it's certainly in the Obama administration's best interest to push those rates down. It's a huge motivator, and it's also going to help out a lot of people who want to refinance, who are on that edge now of holding a loan they just can't quite afford.
So what is your advice, for example, for first-time buyers, let's say, or for people that are running into trouble meeting their mortgage payments?
Well, I don't know why. It seems like this is a pretty hard message to get through to people, whether it's pride or what it is. There are plenty of governmental programs. If you go to HUD.gov, the website for housing and urban development, you will see a big box on their website that says, "We're here to help you, and here's how you start, and how you can modify your loan." I mean,
this is for people that are running into trouble making their payments.
Run into trouble, you're already in trouble. There are lots and lots of HUD-certified counselors who won't charge a nickel for the help. There are plenty of scams out there that will take your money and try to fix your mortgage. But there's free help out there, and the mortgage modification. I talked to a woman just 2 days ago who had her mortgage modified, and she said she was stunned at how simple and straightforward it was.
David Hanna, what about first-time buyers? Is this a good time to get into the market? Is it should bargain hunters go after these foreclosed properties?
Stocks in real estate always seem to be on sale at the times when very few people want to buy them, and I think this is an excellent time for people to get into the market. First-time home buyers in particular, because prices are, in many areas of the city and in the suburban marketplaces, at numbers that haven't been seen in close to a decade. And especially if you have the wherewithal or some additional capital so that you can purchase a piece of property that's in less than perfect condition, and are able to make those
and there are
repairs.
some pretty good bargains.
There are some
out
outstanding bargains out there for those folks. But it's a challenge, and Mary touched on it earlier. There's a certain amount of fence sitting that continues to take place. We've been talking for a year. This is a great time to buy. Other than, I can take them up to the front door and point them up and let them see everything, but they've got to make the decision.
And
the
so
prices do
human nature says, well, let's wait
Absolutely.
another couple of months and see what happens.
And finally, what about a timeline for recovery? First, we heard that maybe this summer we would hit rock bottom. Then some analysts said maybe at the beginning of next year. What is your assessment?
I think that
in 15 seconds or less.
In 15 seconds or less, that prices are at a point now where we're seeing a bottom in the pricing of housing. We're seeing inventory go off the market because individuals are not willing to sell at the prices they're being offered. That is driving inventory down, as well as properties being absorbed in the marketplace.
So a recovery next year, 2 years, 3 years?
I think the economy is the key. Mary talked about that earlier as well, that it's jobs. And at some point, the housing market will get some legs under it, but it's not going to move forward effectively until we get people
very
back.
quickly, your timeline.
Well, I think it's going to be an L-shaped recovery. I think we're going to flatline, and I think that's fine in a way. I mean, thank God we stopped dropping. And well into next year before you see any big boost.
My thanks to Mary Umberger and David Hanna. Chicago Tonight will continue in a moment with Chicago Tribune music critic Greg Kot. Don't go away.
Culture and community reporting on Chicago Tonight is supported by Allstate.